What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you talking golf for another week here. And a really fun tournament we've got on tap this week. So should be a lot of fun here as we go through this tournament here over the next 45 minutes or so. We'll do our weekly snake draft. That's become kind of a thing here over the last couple of months. Dan Kramer just keeps on chugging. Noto passed me for the final cash spot last week. That was a little tilting. I still haven't gotten on the board, so we need to get that changed around this week. But should be a lot of fun here with the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Of course, I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84. The aforementioned Notorious Derek Farnsworth is alongside. Noto, what's going on? How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Got the first outright of the year out of the way with Chris Kirk, and I believe he was on my snake draft team too. And I beat you by less than 10 points. So if you wouldn't have won, I think you would have passed me and got your first taste of some money in the snake draft.
Well, I was in the lead for a lot of the week, and I had Justin Saw on mine, and then he was, up there and just couldn't quite pull it out on Sunday. Still ended up in a tie for fifth, but he faded a bit there on the weekend. And I mean, but what even was this leaderboard? Like, okay, Kirk and Lowry, yeah, we expected it, but Eric Cole and Tyler Duncan, we had a Monday qualifier, and Ryan Garrard in the top 5, Ben Martin showing up on a leaderboard for the first time in like 10 years, Sepp Straka back up there, Dylan Lingmerth for the first time in about 10 years, Zach Johnson inside the top 15. Like, obviously we expected that, stuff like that, and we said that last week, don't be afraid to take some chances, but what a weird tournament.
Yeah, weird tournament. The field obviously wasn't great, but yeah, you mentioned a lot of those names. I mean, Cam Percy, Jim Herman, a couple old guys getting in there. Zach Johnson.
Like a Champions Tour leaderboard.
Oh, but hey, it was actually a fun watch. I actually enjoyed the tournament quite a bit. Obviously, having a sweat on Sunday, helps in that regard. But I like that course, man. It's challenging. Sets up for a pretty dramatic finish. I kind of looked like Eric Cole was going to run away with it. After he got the lead, and then, Kirk just hung around. And how about that line he took on 18 in regulation?
Yeah, pretty incredible. I mean, just the risk-reward nature of that course, and we're going to see some of that again this week as well. It's just really interesting to see how the guys approach it when you've got a tournament that requires a little bit more strategy than just chucking irons right at the pins that we see in so many tournaments. And now we're going to get to see challenging courses 2 weeks in a row. And I think that just makes it really interesting when you get a close competitive battle for the win down the stretch like we had last week.
Yep. My only other takeaway, Eric Cole, he was, really impressive. He made a couple bad swings on the front 9 and just continued to get after it, made a big bogey save after he hit it in the water, made a bunch of putts. And I think I read that his last win was on a mini tour event for like $1,200 a couple miles away from the Honda. And he made
he made a little more than that last week.
900,000 last week. So love hearing those stories. And it's kind of nice to get a break from the designated events, just to see some of these other younger guys get their chance. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for a better field this week.
Yeah, I mean, tough to take a ton of things away from a field with the field strength that we had last week, other than, it's a nice break for the guys that were able to manage a top finish and, field strength or not, guys that are winning 900,000 can be life-changing for some of these guys that have struggled to make it in the pro tours. And for all the, bemoaning that I did on the show about the weak strength of the field, it certainly pays off for those guys that can parlay that into a good week. So nice for guys like Cole and seeing a Monday qualifier in the mix there. That's always pretty cool and makes for some good storylines. So anything else from last week to take away other than time to move on?
Yeah, time to move on. But one other note, I think I did notice something while I was doing my showdown content. Kyle Stanley was like 3rd in ball striking heading into the final round, and he was like T74. He had like -9 strokes putting, something like that. Ended up gaining strokes putting in his final round. Ended up moving up to T60. But yeah, guys like that, they're team no putt. It's tough out there when they're losing 4 strokes around.
And it's remarkable how often he does it these days. It's just it's almost every tournament. I mean, it's not even a mini aberration at this point with him. But all right, let's turn our focus to a new week. Because we've got lots to talk about this week with the Arnold Palmer Invitational, as I kind of hinted at, another difficult course. And this one is a par 72 course that often plays a stroke or two over par. And now you throw in this week, they're already calling for 20-mile-an-hour winds the first day, like 35-mile-an-hour winds the second day, 20-mile-an-hour winds again the third day. And, you know, you have a course, I think there was a round last year where the winds were gusting pretty high that it averaged about 3 strokes over par, which is just unheard of for a par 72 course. So, you know, Bay Hill is no slouch. And what do we make of this week's venue and the weather forecast?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a single-digit under par winner again. We've seen that 2 of the last 4 years. Scheffler won a -5, Hatton won a -4. And yeah, that wind, it looks pretty brutal. So definitely going to be a week where you want to save your, roster construction until Wednesday night, especially for the Friday guys. Because if it does look a little less windy in the morning on Friday, you definitely want to take advantage of that. So I probably won't be finalizing my main lineup and my MME player pool until we, see tee times and see the updated forecast on Wednesday. But you mentioned it's a tough golf course. It's been in the top 10 in difficulty each of the last 4 years. The par 4 is extremely difficult. They did widen the fairways here a couple years ago, and they kind of cut down the rough in front of the water hazards and the bunkers. So it kind of gives golfers more space off the tee, but makes it a little riskier if you do want to hit driver. Hazards are more in play off the tee now than they ever have been. And with all the water, ups the variance. We talked about it last week. You're going to see guys that are right around the cut line that could easily finish 4 or 5 off the cut line based on what they do the last couple of holes. 18 is always a fun hole with the water in play. So yeah, it should be a fun course. I think you got to be solid all around. I think Florida experience doesn't hurt. Difficult golf courses, experience on those doesn't hurt. Major like type of course that we have this week should be a fun one.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it always ranks in the top in terms of difficulty, and that's again being a par 72 when you take into account difficulty in relation to par, I'd be willing to bet that most of the other courses that are in that top 10 in terms of difficulty are par 70s, just because you don't have the par 5s to attack. But here, even though you've got the par 5s, still a really tough golf course. And it's, with the wind, this is a course where generally, distance can help. But maybe placement is more important this week with the wind. But on the other hand, you're going to want shorter irons coming in to some of these holes where, other guys will have longer irons or fairway metals. So what do you make in terms of prioritizing distance when you factor in the fact that it should be pretty gusty this week?
Yeah, that and typically this course is really firm and really fast, so the shorter hitters can get it out there a little bit more if they are accurate. They typically grow up the rough too. But this is the event where, Bryson almost drove the par 5 and then, did the double number 1. That was a pretty fun couple minutes there. I think Rory tried to do it too, and he ended up hitting the water. But, yeah, I'm not prioritizing distance too much. I think total driving is probably your best bet. Going to be a lot of long irons for pretty much all these guys because, some of the holes required some layups off the tee anyway.
Yeah, combination of distance and accuracy there with the total driving, I think makes sense to me as well. We have almost all of the top guys on tour these days. Pretty much everybody, I think I read earlier, everybody that got the PIP money last year, except for Tiger. All the others are in this field. So what do we want to do as far as the top range goes? A little bit of softer pricing again this week on DraftKings, just 3 guys above 10K with Rahm, obviously the way he's been playing. Scheffler, defending champ, got back to his winning ways a couple weeks ago. Rory, really good worldwide form over the last 6 months. So those are your 3 top guys, but there's a lot of high upside guys in the 9K range. So do we need to prioritize one of the top trio here on DraftKings this week?
Kind of feels like you need to. We've just seen so many of the favorites win these events, and it's hard to go away from any of those 3. I think Rory's going to be my favorite. I'm surprised he's not more expensive than Scheffler, especially since he typically plays this event every year, typically plays well here every year. 5 straight top 50. A lot, obviously. I think he lives in Jupiter. But Scheffler do it again here, 1 year last year, and then Rahm just he's a freight train right now. I don't think he can be stopped. His last 9 starts, he's got 5 wins and nothing outside the top 10. So I'm not going to say anything bad about any of them. I prefer Rory. I'll have exposure to all 3 in my MME pool. But yeah, do you have any stronger takes than I?
No, I'm kind of with you, like Rory as well. You mentioned the last 5 years: 1st, 6th, 5th, 10th, 13th, 51 strokes gained over field average, and these tough, longer tracks just benefit his style of game. So, like you, it's just hard to say anything bad about Rahm, but it does hamstring the rest of your lineup build with his salary being that much higher, though he deserves it based on the way he's been playing. I think McIlroy, Rahm, Scheffler is the way I'll rank him, but I'm always tend to be a little bit lower on Scheffler, and it burned me a couple weeks ago. So the old "you can't play everyone" theory definitely intact, but that's how I'll rank them. No strong takes though, and certainly I'll do some lineups where you start in the 9Ks. But what's interesting there is if you go down, Thomas hasn't played here. Morikawa's only played here twice. Zalatoris 10th and 38th. Finau miscut in his only trip. Cantlay hasn't played here. So, maybe more people will prioritize the 10K range if you want to look at course history and, form, obviously, because the 9K range doesn't offer that much in terms of course history. So, but obviously talented golfers that are capable of winning. I mean, we've seen what Zalatoris does on tougher tracks. We know Finau, Schauffele, Cantlay, those guys all have the upside. So what do we make of the 9Ks here?
Yeah, I should have noted in the preview that Data Golf has this as the 4th most predictive course history course on the PGA Tour. So definitely a week where you do want to look at guys that have played well here in the past. But I think JT played here just a long time ago, just not in the last 5 years, because I do have some result for him. I can't remember where he finished, but he's won twice in Florida, won the Players, also won the Honda. And I just think any kind of Florida experience, really pays off, because a lot of the courses are similar in terms of, their trouble and all that. So I like JT. I like him as an outright at like 25-1. You're getting him at a pretty good price here. Doesn't look like the ownership's going to be too bad, 13% right now. So I like that. I like Homa. He just continues to play well. Typically, I would say, fade him once he gets off the West Coast, but he's played here 3 times, 3 top 25s. So I'll go back to Homa. Everybody's going to play Zalatoris. It's hard not to like him. Coming off of a really good finish the last time we saw him. And then I think it was a Riviera. And then, obviously got the hard course narrative. So, yeah, those guys are probably my favorite. Xander rates out the best of anyone in my model, but he doesn't really play Florida a lot. Neither does Cantlay. So, yeah, I kind of like JT and Zalatoris the most.
In theory, if you were in a league where you got to pick, like a sort of like a one and done league, but basically going for guys that have the most upside. And let's say, again, in theory, everybody were to start the same amount of tournaments every year, and you had to pick one guy to ride as your kind of earnings player all year long. Where would Max Homa rank on that list for you? Basically, in terms of overall upside on the PGA Tour, because I don't feel like he gets the same amount of publicity as guys like JT and Finau and obviously Rory and Rahm. And I'm not saying he's on the level with, those couple of guys, but I mean, is he a top 6 guy? Is he a top 8 guy? Like, where does Homa rank in the grand scheme of PGA Tour guys these days?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And at the start of the year, I'd probably have him a lot lower than I do now. I know that's easy to say after he's been playing so well, picked up a win, and then we saw him, finish second the last time out. So he's certainly moving up that rank. I think the next thing he needs to prove is at the majors. He hasn't really done anything at any of the majors yet, but it seems like he has the game for it. Doesn't really have a weakness. He seems like, he has the confidence to do it now. So I'm excited to see what he could do. I'd probably put him in the top 6 or 7 right now moving forward.
Yeah, kind of around. I mean, he's priced 4th highest this week, so probably in that range. But it just doesn't seem to get the publicity as some of those other guys. Grades out fairly well in terms of our overall projections this week. Also, he's kind of right there with the 4th, 5th, 6th highest guys. So I think you can absolutely start some lineups with this kind of range. Zalatoris, if that, I generally always play Zalatoris on all the hard courses, but if he is going to be 25% owned, I just don't think there's that much separating. We've got Finau projected 2 points higher and at a third of the ownership. So I like Zalatoris. I'm a Zalatoris guy, but I think pivoting to Thomas, pivoting to Finau, can't lay any of these guys. I just think that anybody in this 9K range that's going to be over-owned is probably, I don't think there's enough separating them. So give me the guys that are going to be lower owned. And for now, I think it'd be Thomas and Finau. I'm happy to kind of let ownership dictate how I want to handle the tournament builds here in this range.
Yeah, and a question from Dan Kramer, the snake draft legend. If the forecast holds,
why is he asking us questions? He doesn't have to ask us any questions. He beats us every week.
We should be asking him. How chalky is the late early tee time going to be? And for me, I think that comes down to what type of contest you're playing in. Generally, in the large field stuff, it'll be a little bit different. You'll see a little bit more weight towards the late early guys if they do have the better draw. But in single entry, especially high dollar stuff, you're going to see some full stacks late early, I would think. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it'll wait and see what the forecast looks like on Wednesday before I really make a determination on how I think the masses will handle that. But we've kind of mentioned over the years, people tend to overreact to that for better or worse. I mean, I'm kind of one of them too that has done that over the years. So if it shows an advantage, I mean, I certainly will play it because this is a course that's tough, even when you don't throw the win factor in. But historical data tends to show that, that we tend to overreact to it. So if you're one that just wants to play it straight, I understand. But I think making some stacks, particularly if you're building multiple lineups, is, you got to at least cover that possibility if it looks like there's going to be a big advantage. So tough to decipher that kind of lean on Monday, but definitely something that we'll be monitoring over the next couple days, and we'll put our thoughts in that in our written content, which you can access over at RotoGrinders. If you're a premium subscriber, check us out over at the site there, rotogrinders.com. All right. Anything else on the 9Ks for you before we dip down a little lower?
Do you have any takes on Hovland? He's a guy that he's been playing pretty well. Did have a second place finish here last year, but we're always worried about a short game. And if it gets windy and everybody's missing greens, that's not when I want to target him. Yeah,
I mean, he did tie for second last year, which was his best finish here by a pretty wide margin. I don't know. I do worry about him in the weather. I think he's probably behind the others in the 9K range for me. And I don't know. I don't feel that horribly about it. Talented guy, but I worry about the conditions and the course.
What about Morikawa? Maybe he can find a glove that finally fits him. I assume you haven't watched the Netflix show yet.
No, I haven't. But you were kind of mentioning it last week that he came off as the unlikable guy of the bunch.
I don't know. He was paired up with Tony Finau, so it was kind of just like, I don't know. Finau's just got this big family, and it's all about giving back and all the stuff. And I don't know. I think it was just kind of unfair the way they portrayed. Morikawa.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe that's
another thing. You gotta realize that editing can do wonders for how something comes across.
Yep.
But again, I haven't seen it, so I won't pass judgment. But I think if I'm going for one of the poor putter, like it's the chipping from Hovland that worries me a little bit. So. Yeah, give me Zalator or give me Morikawa over Hovland if I'm choosing between the guys that sometimes struggle to putt. All right, let's move into the 8Ks. Sungjae coming off a surprisingly quiet week. We had Kirk and Lowry. The other top-end guys played well last week. Sungjae, I think, finished, 42nd or something like that. Fitzpatrick, Cam Young, Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, who's been fantastic. I mean, as much as I joked around with Noto about Jason Day's little resurgence, Noto's kind of been proven right on that here over the last couple months. So Day keeps playing well. Feels like a relative discount on him the way he's been playing, but also going to be pretty chalky. Hatton going to be pretty popular in here. Got Sam Burns and Keith Mitchell at the low end of the 8K range. Seems like they're going to soak up double-digit ownership again this week. So this group does feel like a little bit of a step down from the 9Ks, but Then again, if you've been riding that Jason Day train all winter, then that's probably the first guy you're looking at here. So what are your thoughts on the 8Ks?
Yeah, I really like this range. I think in my main build, I'll probably start in the 10Ks and then dip down to the 8s, maybe take 2 or 3 of them. That does skip over Zalatoris, so maybe that gives you a more unique roster construction. But you mentioned Jason Day. Last 9 starts, he's T21 or better in 8 of them. He's coming off of 3 straight top 10s. And if you remember, this is the event where he withdrew and then went to Disney World with his family the very next day, even though he was dealing with a back injury, and that blew up all over social media. So, yeah, maybe some redemption for Jason Day there. Hatton, I think he won this event. Let's see. Yeah, won it in 2020 and then second here last year. A guy that likes difficult conditions, although he can blow up at times, but it's typically just on courses that he doesn't like, and he obviously likes this one. So I like Hatton. I like Day. I like Sung Jae. I think if he would have played better last week, he would be more expensive. He would be higher owned. So just take the discount. 2 third-place finishes here. He's 4 for 4. And then I like Matt Fitzpatrick. The irons have been really bad. He's lost on approach in 7 straight. But this was always the course that we had picked out that it was going to be his first win on the PGA Tour. He's talked about how much he loves it. 4 straight top 10s here. I think he's a better golfer now than he was, earlier in his PGA Tour career. So I like those 4 quite a bit. They're all going to be fairly chalky, but nobody over 20%. So I feel like I can play them and then, sort of differentiate elsewhere.
Yeah, those calls I don't mind. I like Hatton a good bit. Probably, not going to play. I'm definitely not going to have as much exposure, I think, to this range compared to you. I think I maybe like the 9Ks a little bit better, and you like the 8Ks a little bit better, but not a strong lean. I do like Fitzpatrick a good bit. You mentioned the course fit. 9th, 10th, 9th, 2nd for him here the last 4 years at this tournament. So I think this is a nice bounce back potential spot for him. And I think maybe that ownership will come in slightly lower. It all depends, though. The course history truthers will play him. The recent form truthers, kind of won't. But he's my favorite in this range. But I overall probably won't have as much exposure to the 8K range compared to you. Burns has been pretty chalky pretty much every time he's teed it up. The form has been, kind of hit or miss for him lately. I don't know. It seems like he still gets a little bit too much steam based on the way that he's been playing. I mean, if you look at his stats over the last 36 rounds, he's 103rd in this field in approach. Again, if I'm taking somebody that's struggled on approach lately, I think I'll just take Fitzpatrick. And Burns has just really struggled with the ball striking. He's 64th off the tee. If you're struggling there, you're not going to be able to hide it at this course. So I don't know. I think Burns is the fade for me this week. Any other thoughts on this range for you?
Yeah, I agree with Burns. They do call him Bermuda Burns for a reason. So maybe, you can see some upside there. But yeah, the approach play has been off. The approach play has been off for Hideki too. I mean, over the last 12 months, he's 47th in the field. Over the last 8 months, he's 62nd in the field in strokes gained approach, a guy that we typically think of as a top 10 iron player in the world. I know he's going to be low owned, but that worries me. What about a couple other young guys, Cam Young, Tom Kim? Any interest in them?
Yeah, I think both are pretty interesting because people will tend to go with the course history and the veterans a little bit more this week. Let's see. So I was looking through the stats. So Cam Young, another guy that lately has struggled a bit, but his has mainly been the short game. So if you want to bank on, a little bit of variance there, we know he's plenty long off the tee. Tom Kim, maybe a little bit more well-rounded. I think in tough conditions, I think I'd give Kim the edge if choosing between the two.
Yeah, he kind of seems like a guy that's just going to hit a lot of fairways and greens. And when you're talking about a winning score that's going to be single-digit par, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Kim. I mean, maybe somebody that's just kind of hanging around all week, even par, 1 under, and you don't really notice, and then all of a sudden he's in the mix.
Yeah, we've talked about him at the Players. We kind of think that's a good course fit, and I think this is very similar course. So, Brian in the chat, to Spieth or not to Spieth, that is a question. I already know your answer, and I'll go with not to Spieth as well.
Yeah, no Spieth for me this week. Horschel, another guy. Boy, I was really tilting last week when Horschel got off to a good start. I was like, he was the total fade. Thankfully, he didn't play very well after that. Did fade to a T42. But he finished tied for second at this event last year. And we've talked about, he plays better in Florida. But he's kind of headlining the top end of the 7K range, along with Shane Lowry, who did finally find some form last week. You've got Connors, Fowler, Kirk, last week's winner. Scott, Rose, Keegan Bradley, like these are guys that everybody who played last week was like over 9,000, 10,000 even for a few of them in this price range. And now they're in the sevens this week. So a little easier to stomach. You got Tommy Fleetwood in here as well. I mean, Taylor Montgomery all the way down to 7,400, though he's finally seemed to hit a wall of late with his play with the, the putting at least not being superhuman, more just slightly above average level over the last few events after he was just on fire for an extended period there. But guys like Minwoo Lee, Tom Hoagie, Aaron Wise, it feels like you're getting a discount on these guys this week because they were so much more expensive a week ago or a couple weeks ago. So what are we looking at in the 7K range here? And then we can fire up our snake draft.
Yeah, and one note on the snake draft, our CEO Dan Bach pointed out to us that the snake draft doesn't really play that well on the podcast version.
Yeah,
of this show.
we'll give you a clean exit for the the podcast feed, so we'll get through the rest of the golfers here and not kind of talk about all of them during the draft. But those of you who are watching the podcast feed, we'll make sure we give you an exit when we get through the golfers, and then we'll do the snake draft for those that are watching live or watching on YouTube. So.
Yeah, exactly. 7K range, no Horschel for me. I mean, T42 while losing 5 strokes ball striking last week. We talked about the swing changes. I know this is Florida, but no thanks there. I will be going back to Chris Kirk. We talked about him a lot last week. He had a good finish with the Players. He had good finish at this event last year. And we know he doesn't drink anymore, so we don't have to worry about him, just celebrating all week and all that. And everybody hates playing the guy that won the week before. So I think it's a pretty good spot for Chris Kirk. He projects as the best point per dollar guy in my model this week. I'm playing Ricky Fowler, lives in Florida, been playing a lot better lately, plays this event every year. I'll be playing some Keegan Bradley. He's been very hit or miss recently, but he's talked about, the weight loss being, a big boost for him. We talked about wanting to make the Ryder Cup this year. And he's got back.
He's 10 for 10 the last 10 years at this tournament.
Back-to-back top 11s. I like Keegan. The guy I don't know what to do is Shane Lowry. Really want to play him. He's gained 17 strokes tee to green the last 2 weeks. But for whatever reason, he hasn't figured this course out. 0 for 4 here in his career. So are you buying into that? Or
I think I'll play a little bit of him.
Yeah.
It's more of a gut thing, because I generally do abide by the course history here as well. But he should have some confidence after last week. If it gets really windy, he's the type of player that can thrive in chaos. So particularly if he ends up on the good side of the draw, probably a guy that I think I'll end up being overweight on a good bit this week.
Yeah, I think so too. It doesn't feel great, but I think the course history is just going to keep that ownership down enough.
Yeah.
And then I like Tommy Fleetwood a lot. Last time we saw him was T20 at Riv. And he's been great here. He's been great in Florida. He almost won Honda that 1 year. So Fleetwood's one of my favorite plays as well. A couple guys that the chat's asking about. Aaron says Adam Scott week. I don't really understand the infatuation with Scott. Just not a lot in his numbers that I like. He used to be a great ball striker. Now he's getting a lot of it done with the putter. I get it. He does tend to play, these classical courses a little bit better. And then Dan's asking about Brian Harmon. He just, he just hasn't been very good recently. Doesn't rate out that well for me, which is a very, very shocking. Usually the model loves him each and every week. I would rather play Aaron Wise. I'd rather play Minwoo Lee, a couple of the other, European Tour guys. But Zayden Out's got a pretty good record here. Yeah, any thoughts on any of those?
Blasphemy with putting down Brian Harmon. He's gonna.
I'll have some. I'm
gonna
sure.
He's gonna win now. I don't mind sprinkling these guys in. Bazudenhout, I think is certainly interesting. And these, you're just getting low ownership on guys that at least they don't feel gross to roster. The one guy that kind of stood out in terms of point per dollar in our projections, and a guy that I've tended to play at random times quite a bit, is Ryan Fox. But I have no idea what he's been doing overseas.
3 straight top 20s.
Oh man, I'm going to be in on Ryan Fox.
But he's never played here before.
The projections, though, he's got a sneaky good point per dollar opto rating. And yeah, you mentioned the 3 straight top 20s, obviously in much easier fields than what we see this week. But look, $5 GPP or something, MME, give me some Ryan Fox as the YOLO sleeper at 1% ownership this week. I feel this is finally a week where you can actually talk about guys down here. Like, I can't remember the last time we've even felt okay about mentioning a guy in the 6K range. But now you got, Will Gordon, Bramlett, Smalley, Brendan Todd, Ben Griffin. Like, these are guys that we've, talked about at least in recent weeks, and they're down in the 6Ks, even in a week where we've only got 120 golfers in the field. Feels like you can maybe dip down here, which helps you get that Rahm or Rory at the top. So who else are you looking at here this week?
Yeah, pretty much the guys you mentioned. I like Will Gordon. I like Alex Smalley. And that's pretty much it for me. You can definitely take more chances this week. We didn't talk about it at the start, but only 120 golfers. So a little bit higher, 6-6 percentage most likely. That doesn't mean – this is actually one of those weeks where having 6-6 isn't necessarily a must because it's not a birdie fest, you know. You're going to have the position placement points be worth more.
I will say that right now they're projecting 20 mile an hour wins the first day, 35 mile an hour wins the second day, 20 mile an hour wins the third day, and only 8 to 10 mile an hour wins the fourth day. So it's very possible that the Sunday scoring could be the best scoring day of the week. And therefore, having 6-6 will become more important because people will actually be making birdies on Sunday compared to the other days. Now, whether that's me, Galaxy Brain, overthinking it, I don't know. But that's just food for thought.
I mean, ideally, you always want 6-6, but you'll get into some of these majors and you'll go backwards if you have 6-6 just because guys will move down the leaderboard.
There was a year where somebody won the, 500,000 entry Millie Maker or something in one of the majors. I forget whether it was the British or the US Open, but had first, second, fourth, fifth, sixth, and a miscut. Won the Millie Maker with 5-6. And with that, so obviously, having 5 of the top 6 golfers, is kind of an outlier, but for what it's worth, when the conditions are tougher, it's less of a big deal compared to when guys are shooting 25 under par.
Yep. All right. Should we send off the podcast crew?
Yeah. So those of you who are just listening on audio only, we're going to move to our snake draft now, which if you want to listen with some dead air and screen sharing that you're not going to be able to see, feel free to continue listening on. Otherwise, we will bid you adieu for this week and hope that you tune back in next week. And of course, if you want to check us out on the RotoGrinders YouTube channel or on the videos page and watch the snake draft, you can also do that at a later time as well. So those of you that are signing off, appreciate you checking us out. As always, check us out at rotogrinders.com, and we'll see you back here next week. And for those of you who want to continue on, we will move towards our snake draft portion of the show. So I'll head back after my researcher Ryan Fox here and go back to the lobby and see what we got going on here. So snake draft.
We already got a 6-12 going. So
all right, better hop in there quick here. 6-12, $5 snake draft.
There's also a 4-12, $10, but we won't up the stakes.
Only Dan Kramer can afford the $10.
Yeah, I was $1 short from last week. I get $9 every week.
Oh, I had to be careful. I have bets going on, and my balance was lower than I thought, but we're good. We got the $5 to enter. All right, and I will move the screen share here over to me if I can figure out how to multitask. Snake draft, okay. All right, so we're full already, and Dan got the first pick, so that's
come on. The rich get richer.
It's ridiculous. No, I said last week it was going to test him because he had to pick last or close to last. Let's see. We got the last 2 picks. Look at that. Just getting hosed right from the start.
I guess this is a deeper field.
Yeah,
so.
it's not.
Dan says, "Damn it." Sure. How dare you give me John Rahm?
So
although I like Rory more than Rahm. I want to see where Dan's head's at.
I think Dan will take Rahm. I have accidentally gone off of the snake draft here. Now I got to find my way back. Old guy can't figure out the technology. All right, where I think I'm getting back up here.
Shout out to Gasman, finished second last week. A really solid performance.
Real shout out to everybody that passed me and left me 4th. I was just crushed, following that more than anything else. Just trying to get off the schneid here in the snake draft. But
all right, so we got a lot of RG logos in here. So people must already join, just prepping. Love it.
Yeah, they're getting ready before
helps us fill fast. It's great.
It's good. That's better than waiting 10 minutes to get it to fill. So no shock for me. Took Rahm, so that's the winner right there.
Gotta tear up my research, start from scratch. I'm just gonna go Rory.
Producer Devin joining the draft, even though he's not producing tonight. He's working on helping the show out even on his day off. So kudos to Devin, though who knows if he's around. Maybe we've surprised him. Now he's got an auto drafted with Scheffler there second. So you would think that Rahm, Scheffler, Rory are the logical top 3, and that's no surprise there. So from there, it gets interesting. Like the middle of the first round, you can make a case for. We'll just kind of be there with whoever's left when it gets to 11 and 12.
Yep, Homa going before a lot of the other big names. I kind of thought it would be Zalatoris.
I think I recognize everybody in the draft except maybe Rattlin' Rhinos feels like a new participant, but everyone else seems to be a regular.
Yeah, got a Tour Junkies logo in there. I like that.
Laboni picking 6th. Goes with JT.
I like that pick a lot. I think he's winning this week.
He was 7th in the.
Oh, there's Devin. Oh, there's a PGA draft right
now. Surprise. We got it started at the top of the hour here.
Oh, Dan. Yes, he likes Rory more for the record. But that doesn't matter. Dan said that, Kramer.
So
it's whoever's on his team.
Rahm for the block or what?
It's whoever's on his team that's going to win.
It's just the destiny every week.
See, this is tough because I don't want Cantlay, Finau. All right.
Well, then you can just take Billy Horschel in the first round.
Yeah, I like Fitz and Sungjae. I'm going to go. Okay. You get Finau. You were talking about him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll take Finau 12th, no doubt. Though I really liked Fitzpatrick as well. He probably would have been the other pick. I think I will go Finau, and then I'll go course history here with Hatton.
Okay. Ooh, do I go Sungjae or Day? That's a tough one.
Yeah, no, I think they're pretty even. Day hasn't done you wrong in like 2 months. I think you owe it to him.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, that's the head nod to a little thank you there.
Yeah, Aaron says Devin is the man. 100% true. Love Devin. And our producer, Steve, obviously.
So who's the guy that falls this week? We always wonder who's going to be the guy that falls down 10 spots below his
Horschel.
Yeah.
Maybe Lowry. I don't know if Lowry people want to test that course history.
Based on where the DFS ownership is at, I think Horschel is probably the answer there again this week.
Tom Kim, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, these are, we got 25 players that are about as good as the top 3 that we had last week. So and we'll be getting through a good chunk of the field. I mean, you talk about drafting 84 players. There's only 120 in the field this week, so pretty good percentage there.
Do you have a take on Pga?
Not really. I don't know. It has been a while since I've gotten him right.
I worry about his accuracy here because when he sprays it, he sprays it.
Yeah, it could be some big numbers in the mix, particularly with the wind. That
He's
probably
a West
out.
Coast
There's
guy.
enough options this week.
Yeah.
Another week where I think, you got to guard against, putting half the field in your player pool. It's hard to X guys out, but you don't want to be playing 60 guys even in an MME.
So I think last week I did like 55 or something, but I locked Sungjae, so I thought Sungjae just crushes.
Gave you enough differentiation, yeah.
I'll just take my chances with a bunch of other guys, but obviously that didn't work with Sungjae.
All right, rolling to the end of round 2. Justin Rose goes off the board there at 22nd overall.
We didn't talk about him. I think I like Ricky and Day more in terms of the veterans resurgence, but do you like Rose?
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I think I prefer the others.
Okay, here goes Dan. Get your notepad out.
The old back-to-back picks here. It's going to be pretty thin by the time it gets back to us again. Lowry, I like the call.
Okay.
So he's got Rahm and Lowry, and if he takes Horschel, we're in real trouble.
I mean, this should be a perfect setup for Lowry.
Just hasn't been in the past.
Hasn't been. Let me see how far he's missed the cut by.
Lowry and Connors there for Dan. And
87, 96, 87. So he's been close.
Couple stroke or two most of the times.
Connors. I do like Connors. I think he's just solid for like a T28. It's one of those weeks where do you trust the ball strikers more in the wind because they're going to be able to flight the ball and hit more greens, or do you trust the scrambling guys because if everybody's missing greens, you need the good around the green game. It's tough.
Yeah, it is tough. I think Pga becomes the guy that has fallen down the list here. He's about 8 spots after his ranking on the Draftkings. So,
leave Ricky for me, guys.
Noto's going to get all the old vets.
Or gals. I'm sure there's a lot of gals in this draft. Yeah,
a little bit of it.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, Woodland. Oh, interesting. Interesting pick.
He's going to finish top 10 or dead last. If Pga is there for your pick, are you taking him? Oh, Ricky? Who took Ricky? And Fleetwood?
Pga is there for my pick. Am I taking him?
Dude, Seamus Power's been on a tear. 7 straight top 25s.
I don't know. Pga is there for your pick. Are you taking him?
Nope.
Interesting.
Oh, man. Maybe I need to.
Yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, it's.
Wait, why is Sam Ryder questionable?
Let's see. We're going to pull it up. He is not listed in the Pro-Am and was a late withdrawal from the Honda. So it's not exactly inspiring confidence.
All right. Pga got picked. So
okay. Well, that makes that decision easy. Okay. Now what do I want to do here? I think I will go with Montgomery. Bank on him being able to save some 8-footers. It almost doesn't matter where these guys are ranked because they're not going to make it back to us anyway. Anybody that's kind of in this range. I'm running out of time. I'll go with Hoagie. Don't love that. Hoagie. Don't like picking last.
Okay, so Brian says he looked at the stats, and it's been the short game that's been killing Lowry. So, interesting.
Specifically at this tournament?
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go Min Woo.
All right. I don't hate that. This is the talk of the show last week. Where did he end up last week? I don't even remember.
I think he was like T24.
Sounds about right.
T26. So I do have some wind splits, guys that play well in very windy conditions. The top 5: Finau, Keegan, Sungjae, Seamus, and JT.
Interesting. Some names you would expect. There goes Ryan Fox. Who picked Ryan Fox?
Sniped him.
Thought Ryan Fox was going to be there for me in the next time around. See, I said it didn't. I should have taken him. Stevie Wheel, you're banned from joining next week for taking Ryan Fox.
You got an RG logo.
Good call. It's a good call. I like Ryan Fox this week. See how much money I can blow on a Ryan Fox top 10 bet or something stupid. That's going to just be a waste of 10 or $20 this week. But it's gonna happen.
I always save him for the Open Championship, and then he always misses the cut there.
So you got to try him at a different tournament, even without the course history.
I like the Pendrith pick.
We got to see. I got to foray into this until it gets back to me. I will revert the screen share back in a moment here.
All right, Dan took my boy Brian Harmon. Respect.
What are his win odds? Ryan Fox. 180 to 1.
I'll be anybody's bookie if they wanna bet him at 180 to 1. Ooh,
well,
Straka. I like that.
I'm gonna do this out of spite now.
You're gonna bet him outright?
I mean, I'm gonna bet him. I'm gonna put like $2 on it now, just so I've got something to talk about when it happens. 180.
Parlay it with a lift or event or something.
$2. See, I'm gonna be laughing when I have $362. $5 on the top 10. And there you go. Ryan Fox betting in real time.
Not financial advice. Do your own research. We got to put that disclaimer in there.
All right, now I got to get back to the draft. We've gotten sidetracked here. It's my fault.
Man, Siwoo, that's a good pick at this point.
I see. I could have easily taken him in the last round.
What about Dietrich 5-putting from 4 feet last week and then just withdrawing? I don't like seeing that.
Through it. You don't like seeing that because of it's poor sportsmanship or what?
Yeah, get back out there. You can shoot a low round.
Throw it in the throw your putter in the lake and putt with the 9-iron. Like who was it that did that?
When Siwoo did it with the 3-wood and he was standing like 5 feet away from his ball trying to putt, that was great. He did that at the Masters.
I just found out that Bo Hossler's in the field because somebody picked him.
Surprisingly decent course history.
I got to get an idea of who I'm going to take here. Spent 2 minutes betting Ryan Fox. I mean, yeah, there's some names down here that we've talked about. Todd, Smalley, Bramlett. Brian's
going with the all T team. Tony, Terrell, Taylor, and Tom. So got to find 3 more for you.
Well, that's interesting.
Pick. Did you see CH3 get it done last week?
I did, and I saw. I got. Oh, hang on! I got to make my picks first, and then I'll tell that story. Smalley. All right, I'm gonna take Will Gordon because I think he is probably on your radar.
Yep. Gordon and Smalley.
And I'm gonna take. Where'd Bramlett go? There he is. Yeah, so CH3 was like, he would play every event on the PGA Tour for it was like 17 years or whatever. He played almost every event, and he's played 6 LIV events, and he's already doubled his PGA Tour career earnings.
That can't be right. He made like $30 million on the PGA Tour.
Okay, maybe it was over. All right. Maybe it was over a period of like Maybe he doubled what he made in a certain period of years. Now I gotta find it.
I did see his win was more than his other 3 on the PGA Tour. Oh, that's your team, Cardinals. You're the T team.
Yeah, I got confused there for a second. So I broke that streak here this time, though there weren't enough T's.
I forgot to mention Davis Riley. I picked him last round, but getting back on Bermuda, played pretty well last week till the last couple of holes. Sleeper.
Well, no, I can't find the article that I was reading. Now it's gonna bother me. That's all right. I'll find it later. I already got distracted once betting Ryan Fox. Can't get distracted again.
Hey, shout out to the 24 people watching this. There's some of them that aren't in the snake draft that are still watching, so that's impressive.
They actually watching, or they forgot to turn it off?
Hey, we'll take it either way, I guess. Hit the thumbs up button while you're here.
Yeah, the 24 of you that are still here, hit the thumbs up button. That can be your second thank you, and maybe you'll win some money. Though you got to compete with Dan, and not necessarily competing with me.
We're all competing for second.
I've blown $5 on this every week. Why not $7 betting Ryan Fox along with it? This week I lost 12 because I did that while the draft was going on. All right, let's take a look through some of these teams here. So Noto's got Pitts, Day, Wise, Minwoo Lee, Smalley, Davis Riley. The teams are all going to sound better just because of the strength of this field. Scheffler, Kirk, Horschel, Henley, Spawn, and KH Lee for producer Devin. Dan Kramer's coming up here at the turn to get his last 2 picks. So he's got Robbie Shelton, who I debated at the tail end of the last round. So that's a good pick.
Ernest English was like $9K last week, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was expensive, and he was also terrible.
Ben Taylor, best putter on tour right now.
It's a pretty good team. Rahm, Lowry, Connors, Harmon, Straka, Shelton, and Taylor. Model doesn't like Harmon. Noto is disparaging Harmon. Now it's just game over.
So I actually just went and looked. I actually bumped down Harmon because I didn't like him. So Model does like Harmon.
Gotta bump that back up.
I gave him a negative 8% adjustment, and he's still pretty decent per dollar play. All right, 1 pick left.
Yep, we're through the final round here, so it gets pretty dicey here at the bottom.
I saw one person in the draft had 7 of 7 last week. Even their bench made the cut. That was impressive.
Was that the winner?
It must have been Gasman.
Oh, no, because Dan only had 6, I think.
Yeah, it must have been Gasman.
Yeah, that's tough to get 7 of 7. Bonus points.
I think I only had 4, but I had Kirk.
That's dumb. At least you could have let me have $9.
Oh, man.
Kirk.
Nothing like sweating an outright. That lip out from Cole. Man, I was jumping up and down.
All right, yeah, I got
crazy.
To be fair, yes, your outright win is more important than my $9. So kudos, Zach Johnson. I was wondering, 5 straight made cuts at this tournament. Showed some life last week. I probably would have taken Zach Johnson if he would have made it to the last pick. Now I don't know who I'm going to take. Don't know who.
Wow, Molinari is 59th in the rankings. That seems high.
S.H. Kim. Davis Thompson's fallen off a cliff lately. Grillo's fallen off a cliff lately. Nick Hardy's fallen off a cliff lately. Palmer.
The worst. Webb Simpson,
Cliff. Charlie Hoffman, Cliff.
Going off the board. Thurston
Lawrence.
Cliff.
Cameron Davis, definite Cliff.
Or is it Thurston? It might be Thurston. Yeah, I think it's Thurston.
Hayden Buckley, Cliff. Now I'm gonna be stuck with Sam Ryder if I don't take somebody. All right, let's go with Buckley.
Okay.
That's it. It's over. I did not like picking last. Huge advantage to Dan Kramer for picking first. Huge edge for Dan. This week doesn't even count if he wins. Of course, he picked last week and still showed us all up. So no excuses for Dan Kramer. He just keeps on chugging. And with that, we are through our snake draft for the week. And I think we're out of here. Noto, anything else from you before we call it a week?
No, I think we've mentioned Dan Kramer's name more than anybody else's in the last few years on this show. So
well, that's because we forgot about him. We forgot his name. So he's making us pay for that, by virtue of dominating the snake drafts once again. At least he's cashed every week. Since we...
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bet JT and Dave this week. That's my advice.
They're smarter bets than Ryan Fox, but that's okay. I can, if it does happen, I've got the video proof to last all time that I did at pre-tournament. But Players Week is here already next week, so that'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, a strong field for the Players Championship, and we'll be really excited to break that down next week. So good luck with the Arnold Palmer this week. Remember, check the weather on Wednesday as you finalize your lineups. And for Noto, for producer Steve, and everybody that joined the snake draft, thanks as always, and have a great week, everyone. We'll catch you back here next week, same time, same place. We'll see you later.